Some anglerfish are just flat, ugly ambushes lurking near the coast, but descend past sunlight and every rule gets broken. Why do these fish get creepier the deeper you go? Down here, glowing lures, mouths half the body's length, and males that fuse into mates are just the start. Driven by crushing pressure and constant hunger, evolution runs wild. What forces transform a monkfish into a deep-sea monster? And how deep does the weirdness go? The ocean divides itself into invisible layers, each one stranger and more unforgiving than the last. Near the surface, in the epipelagic zone, sunlight penetrates as far as 200 meters, fueling a web of life. Here, temperatures are warmer, pressure is low, and food is plentiful. This is the realm of most familiar fish, where energy from the sun supports everything from plankton to sharks. Drop below 200 meters and the light fades to twilight. The mesopelagic, the twilight zone, stretches down to about 1,000 meters. Only a faint blue glow remains, just 1% of surface light. Temperatures fall and pressure rises, roughly 1 atmosphere every 10 meters. The world grows colder, dimmer, and the food supply declines sharply. Organic matter drifting down from above provides the only meal tickets, and already only a fraction makes it this far. Past 1,000 meters, the bathypelagic, the midnight zone, begins. Here, darkness is absolute. No sunlight reaches these depths. Temperatures hover near freezing, and pressure can exceed 100 times what is felt at the surface. Food becomes vanishingly rare. Less than 5% of what started at the surface survives the journey, sometimes less than 1%. Every calorie counts. This is a world where the rules of survival are rewritten. Below 4,000 meters lies the abyssal zone, and in the deepest trenches, the hadal. These regions are almost empty of life, with pressure so intense and food so scarce that only the most specialized creatures persist. The deeper the descent, the greater the isolation, the harsher the environment, and the stranger the adaptations needed to survive. Each depth zone acts as a filter, stripping away the familiar and leaving only the most radical survivors. Anglerfish, shaped by these gradients of darkness, pressure, and hunger, are among the most extreme examples of evolution's response to the deep. On the continental shelf, the monkfish, also known as goosefish, sets the standard for what an anglerfish can be before the deep takes over. Lying nearly flush with the sea floor, its wide, flattened body blends perfectly with sand and mud, a living trapdoor hidden in plain sight. The skin is mottled, matching rocks and detritus, and small eyes peek upward, waiting for movement. Instead of chasing, the monkfish is a patient ambusher. A stubby fin ray juts from its snout, tipped with a short, fleshy lure. This is the first hint of the angler's signature trick, but here it is crude. No glow, just a twitching, worm-shaped bait. When a shrimp or small fish wanders too close, the monkfish strikes with a lightning-fast gulp. Its jaws open wide, powered by strong muscles and a hinge that snaps shut in an instant, sucking prey into a cavernous mouth lined with backward-pointing teeth. Meals come often enough in these sunlit waters that the monkfish does not need to move much or chase. Energy is spent sparingly, and the body's bulk is supported by a sturdy skeleton built for life close to the bottom. This is a fish built for camouflage and surprise, not endurance or exploration. The monkfish's world is defined by structure: reefs, rocks, shifting tides, offering plenty of places to hide and hunt. Its short lure is enough to fool curious prey, but it is useless in open water or darkness. The body is dense and muscular, heavy with bone, and there is no need for the tricks or sacrifices demanded by the deep. In the world of shallow water anglerfish, the rules are simple. Stay hidden, strike fast, eat often. The blueprint is set. But as the ocean turns to twilight and structure disappears, this strategy begins to fail. The monkfish's adaptations, so effective on the shelf, become a liability in the vast, empty water beyond. Twilight. Somewhere in the twilight zone, between 200 and 1,000 meters, the anglerfish blueprint begins to fracture. The first true deep-sea anglerfishes, ceratioids, leave behind the security of the continental shelf and enter open water. Here, the seafloor vanishes, hiding places disappear, and the rules of ambush transform. The old strategies of lying in wait among rocks no longer work in an endless expanse of dim blue. Instead, these proto-deep anglerfish start to change. Their bodies become more streamlined, less tethered to the bottom, and the lure, once a stubby bait for nearby prey, grows longer, more flexible, and more expressive. Elysium. The elysium, a modified fin ray, extends far beyond what is seen in monkfish. Now it can wave and curl, reaching out into the darkness like a living fishing rod. At its tip, the esker develops new complexity, shaped for movement and soon for light. This is the first crucial adaptation for hunting in a place where almost nothing can be seen and prey is scarce. The longer lure allows ceratioids to attract attention from greater distances, drawing curious fish and crustaceans close enough for a strike in the open water column. Precision. As ceratioids move deeper, their bodies shed unnecessary weight. Bones thin, muscles soften, and the energy once spent on chasing or hiding is redirected into patience and precision. The sit and wait strategy becomes the only option. Every movement is measured, every calorie is precious. The longer, more flexible rod is not just a tool, it is a necessity, giving these anglerfish a reach and subtlety that their shallow water ancestors never needed. In this twilight world, the first wave of deep-sea anglerfish begin to diversify, each lineage experimenting with new shapes, sizes, and tactics, setting the stage for the even stranger forms that haunt the midnight zone. In the deepest reaches of the ocean, feeding is a rare and dangerous game. Two of the most infamous players, Melanocetus, the black sea devil, and Himantolophus, the football fish, have evolved bodies shaped by famine and patience. In Melanocetus, the mouth is a gaping crescent that can span more than half the length of the entire body. Needle-like teeth curve inward, trapping anything unlucky enough to be drawn in by the glowing lure. The jaws hinge wide enough to engulf prey nearly as large as the anglerfish itself. When a meal finally arrives, the stomach distends like a balloon, stretching to fill almost the entire body cavity. Some preserved specimens have been found with prey masses equal to or even greater than their own weight, a single catch that can sustain them for weeks or months in the darkness. Football fish, with their globular, almost comical shape, take a different approach to the same problem. Their bodies are nearly spherical, packed with water-rich tissue and supported by the thinnest scaffolding of bone. This design achieves near-perfect buoyancy, allowing the fish to hover in place with barely a flick of a fin. The energy savings are immense. There is no need for a swim bladder, which would collapse under pressure. Instead, the football fish floats in the water column, conserving every calorie for the next strike. Like Melanocetus, its mouth can open to nearly 55% of its body length, and the stomach stretches to accommodate prey nearly as large as the predator itself. These extremes are not accidents. In the midnight zone, food is so scarce that every meal is a windfall. The cost of missing a chance is high, so anglerfish have become masters of opportunism. Their jaws and bellies are built to take advantage of any prey, no matter the shape or size. The globular form is not just for storage, it is a buoyancy solution, matching the density of seawater almost exactly. By minimizing movement and maximizing the size of each meal, these fish survive in a world where failure means starvation. For Melanocetus and Himantolophus, the deep sea is a place of eerie efficiency. Every adaptation, giant mouths, distensible stomachs, soft bodies, serves the same goal: to capture, swallow, and hold on to the rarest prize in the ocean, food. Their grotesque forms are a direct response to the economics of energy at depth, where only the most radical strategies keep hunger at bay. Not every anglerfish in the deep relies on a monstrous mouth or a ballooning stomach. Some have taken a different path, one that rewrites the rules of how to sense and capture prey when vision is useless and food is rare. Among the most striking are the fanfins, the whipnose, and the wolf trap anglerfish, each a showcase of evolutionary creativity. Fanfin anglerfish, like Colifrine jordani, drift through the midnight zone, trailing a living veil of filaments that can reach up to 8 times the length of their own bodies. These are not just for show. Each filament bristles with a dense network of nerve endings, tuned to the faintest vibrations and chemical traces. In darkness, where eyes are almost useless, these sensory antennae turn the water itself into a field of touch and taste. A passing shrimp or fish brushes against a filament, and the signal travels instantly back to the fanfin, guiding it toward a meal it cannot see. This tactile sense expands the fish's awareness far beyond the reach of its body, a necessity in a world where prey might pass only once in a lifetime. The whipnose anglerfish, Gigantactis, holds another record. Its elysium, the fishing rod, can extend more than 8 times its own body length, sometimes trailing more than 1 meter behind a fish no longer than 15 centimeters. The tip glows with the light of symbiotic bacteria, a distant beacon in the black. Unlike the stubby lure of a monkfish or even the flexible rods of other deep-sea anglers, Gigantactis wields its lure from afar, minimizing its own movement and risk. Prey drawn to the glow find themselves far from the source, only to be swallowed by a predator they never saw coming. These proportions are unrivaled among vertebrates, turning Gigantactis into a living fishing pole, patient and silent in the dark. Then there is the wolf trap anglerfish, Thaumatictis. Instead of a simple jaw, it carries a hinged upper palate lined with backward-pointing teeth. When prey approaches, the upper jaw snaps down like a trapdoor, pinning the victim against the roof of the mouth. Biomechanical studies show this closure happens in less than 1/3 of a second. Once caught, escape is nearly impossible. The teeth and palate combine to form a cage, holding prey fast while the anglerfish swallows at its own pace. Unlike the wide gapes of its relatives, the wolf trap's design is about precision and retention, a macabre innovation built for the rarest opportunities. These adaptations, filaments that feel, rods that reach, jaws that trap, are answers to the same question: how to survive and hunt in a world of perpetual night and scarcity. Each strategy pushes the limits of what a fish can become, proving that in the deep, evolution favors not just the grotesque, but the ingenious. Deep-sea anglerfish are built from a different blueprint than their shallow water cousins. Instead of dense muscle and heavy bone, their bodies are dominated by soft, gelatinous tissue. This is not just a quirk, it is an answer to relentless pressure and scarce food in the deep. In water thousands of meters down, the cost of movement is steep and the price of maintaining a rigid skeleton is even higher. By trading muscle for jelly, anglerfish cut their energy needs by nearly 1/3 compared to similar-sized fish from above. Their bones are thin and poorly mineralized, sometimes little more than cartilage, and their skin is loose and almost translucent. This softness lets them withstand crushing pressure without damage, but it also means they cannot chase or wrestle with prey. Instead, they drift, conserving every calorie, waiting for a meal to come to them. Eyes shrink or lose function, replaced by nerves tuned to vibrations and chemical cues. In the deep, the body becomes a vessel for patience, a living trap designed to save energy at all costs. Every adaptation, from watery flesh to a stripped-down skeleton, reflects a single imperative: survive on less. These choices set the stage for even stranger innovations as anglerfish begin to harness light in the darkness. Inside the anglerfish's lure, the Eska, a microscopic partnership, powers the only light for miles. The glow comes from millions of symbiotic bacteria, mostly Vibrionaceae, housed within a chamber at the tip of the lure. These bacteria are not passed down from mother to offspring. Instead, each young anglerfish acquires its own colony from the surrounding seawater as it matures and descends into the twilight and midnight zones. Genome sequencing reveals these bacteria are partly free-living, retaining genes for movement and survival outside the host. But once inside the esker, they undergo dramatic changes, losing much of their original genetic toolkit and becoming dependent on the anglerfish for nutrients and shelter. The esker's architecture is a marvel of evolutionary engineering. Beneath the skin, a reflective layer, sometimes made of guanine crystals, focuses the blue light forward, maximizing its reach in the darkness. Muscular shutters and pigment cells surround the bacterial chamber, allowing the fish to dim, flash, or even hide its lure at will. Some species can modulate the wavelength and pulse of their glow, tuning the signal to the faintest blue that travels furthest through seawater. This control turns the esker into a living lantern and a precise tool of deception. Each flicker can mimic drifting prey, attract a mate, or confuse a rival. In the void, the lure becomes more than a beacon. It is a finely tuned engine for survival, powered by a partnership invisible to the naked eye. In the abyss, finding a mate is almost as unlikely as finding food. Female anglerfish can go years without encountering another of their kind. To solve this, evolution has rewritten the rules of reproduction in a way found nowhere else in the animal kingdom. The male, barely a fraction of the female's size, spends his short, free-swimming life searching. Guided by pheromones, he homes in on her scent in the dark, using oversized nostrils and a nervous system wired for detection. When he finds a female, he bites and hangs on. But this is only the beginning. Enzymes in his saliva dissolve the tissue between them, and over weeks, their skin and blood vessels knit together. The male's organs wither away. Eyes, fins, even his gut, leaving only testicular tissue, fed and sustained by the female's blood. Some females carry not just one, but up to 8 males fused to their bodies, each a permanent source of sperm whenever spawning becomes possible. This living union comes at a cost. Genomic studies reveal that these anglerfish have lost key adaptive immune genes, RAG and MHC, once thought essential for vertebrate life. Without these, the female's body tolerates the male as if he were her own flesh. In a world of near-total isolation, the price of reproduction is the sacrifice of individuality. The fused pair becomes a single reproductive unit, proof that in the deep, survival demands not just innovation, but the surrender of boundaries once thought unbreakable. By 4,000 meters, light is gone, and food drops by up to 99% from the surface. In response, anglerfish have evolved mouths up to half their body length, gelatinous tissues that cut energy use by 30%, and lures powered by symbiotic bacteria acquired from the environment. Some females carry up to 8 fused males, a reproductive system confirmed by genetic studies that show loss of immune genes. Yet scientists have described many species from only a handful of specimens, and most have never been seen alive in their natural habitat. Lifespans, spawning grounds, and even basic population sizes remain unknown. What is clear, every adaptation, glowing lures, elastic jaws, parasitic mating, traces back to the relentless pressure and scarcity of the deep. The deeper we look, the more anglerfish reveal how evolution breaks the rules to survive in the ocean's harshest realms.